Meet the liberation mechanics. And I don't have the liberation mechanic on the call that I was expecting to have. I was going to talk to Matt Bigger today, and we must be having another problem with Restream. So I go from the Invincibility Dojo group in the morning, run by Brian Muka, and then I run our More Money Now session right afterwards, and then I jump right onto this, and I don't see Matt in the room, and he accepted the invite and knows about it. And we've been running into problems every week with Restream and LinkedIn. So it's not a problem with Facebook or YouTube, but it's something with LinkedIn. Oh, there he is. He just came in. That's good. So like I was saying, we run into problems every week with LinkedIn and Restream, and we don't have problems with YouTube and Facebook, but for some reason, and now Matt's here, so we're good. Hey, Matt.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm awesome. So we're going to talk about liberation mechanics, and I want to introduce you to one right here, which is Matt, and it's you. So we go back a ways now, a few years, and both of us have been through a lot on this entrepreneur journey, and in a lot of ways we're extremely different, and then in other ways we're very, very similar, and how we have evolved ourselves and our businesses over time. And I want to talk about so you're going to be running the Freedom Clarity session on campus every week, and that's about creating structures and processes and productivity and knowing how to make the business work for you so you're not overwhelmed by it. And one of the reasons you're so good at this is because you had to figure it out. So I want to talk about the word pivot, because I have some thoughts on pivot, and I was thinking about you as about the word pivot. So how do you define pivot?
That's serendipitous. I started a post this morning literally with pivot in caps 3 times and exclamation marks. And I was like, wait a minute, that's not what I'm talking about in the video. So I pivoted the post, and I'm going to save that one for later. So it's hilarious to me that you're bringing that up right now. What does pivot mean? If in my experience, it was completely changing everything and starting over again. So it takes courage. Sometimes we have to pay attention to what our body is telling us energetically, what our mind is telling us. If we're building something that is not in alignment, then very often it ends up creating so much friction and frustration and overwhelm and chaos in our business. And that's what I kept experiencing.
Yeah.
And this goes all the way back to my early 20s when I was an electrician. I
Yeah.
just knew there was an internal knowing trying to tell me, Matt, you're on the wrong path.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I would describe as a pivot.
Let me give you an alternative definition. As I was thinking about this, I was thinking about our conversation we're going to have yesterday, and how what we're talking about can be looked at multiple ways. So let's do that. And so one of the things I was thinking about is this concept of notice, adjust, calibrate. And I go back to 21 years old when I started doing entrepreneur kind of things. And notice, adjust, and calibrate is what I've always done.
Yeah.
And other people told me I was pivoting, and I wasn't. So I started thinking of pivoting is when somebody tells me that they need me to do something different so they can make more money from what I'm doing. So pivoting in Silicon Valley language is when the investor says, we're not getting a return fast enough, pivot.
Right.
Notice, adjust, and calibrate goes to adjust. So adjust to me means this isn't working for me. I'm going to change it.
Yeah.
I'm not pivoting. I'm adjusting. And other people are like, well, you're screwing up your brand. Nobody knows what you're talking about now. And I'm like, I don't care. It was not right for me.
Yeah. Yeah. It's that knowing. I think and it gives you the confidence and courage to make difficult decisions. We could assign good or bad meaning to the word pivot. It could go either way. And I don't necessarily feel like it was a bad experience. It was frustrating as hell.
Yes.
And I did it the hardest most stubborn, fiercely DIY way of starting a business. And I just kept making changes, but it wasn't just like a brand pivot, it was a complete overhaul.
Yeah.
And so that's why for me it felt like I was starting over, right? Because there's an element of social proof that's required for people to believe from a cold audience perspective that you know what you're doing, right?
Yes.
We have to build trust and rapport with people. And so every time I would make one of these adjustments, it was like starting from scratch. I had to go back out there. I had to find new clients. I had to build up those testimonials again, the case studies, and I just did that over and over and over again.
Yes. Me too. And I look at it now and I can see the dots connect. And at the time I didn't, but I just knew I'm going to keep going and I'm going to
Yeah.
keep doing this. And the example going back to when we first started working together, I think is a good one to illustrate this. So when we first met, I was working on a company concept called Solopreneur Inc. And Solopreneur Inc. came out of a purpose-based idea. So
Mm,
the concept was, what if solopreneurs had one place to go where they get everything they need to be successful? So the idea of the campus started then. And we put a school community together. And I thought, well, I have to learn how to do video better. And that's when we connected. I have to communicate better. I have to learn how to do video better. And we worked together for about a year on retainer. So I was paying you a monthly retainer. My partner had a very different vision for that business. He wanted passive income and an annuity stream. And I wanted to create something new in the world. And as I went through and got better at communicating on video, and I learned a lot of that from you, and I did the work. I made hundreds and
yes, you did.
hundreds of videos every day. I made another video. It was a maniac. And I built courses. It was like endless. And then at the end of the whole thing in January of 2023, I decided to close it. I'm like, and people were like, whoa, sorry, it didn't work out. And I'm like, no, it was starting to succeed. You don't understand. It wasn't right for me.
Yeah.
Wasn't a pivot. It was a big adjust. And I had a lot of people tell me I'm crazy. They're like, what are you doing? And my wife is like, you already have a business. I have another business. And she's like, you'd be making 20 grand a month again or more if you would close this whole thing down and just go work in your business. And now you're telling me you don't like it. There was a reason I did all that. That's the
Mm,
point.
yeah. And where are you now, Larry?
I'm there with the evolution of the dots connecting.
Yeah.
And it took doing that as a learning experience. And this is what you're talking about. It's you and I have always done the hardest thing. Not everyone has to be that way. But when you create anything new or original in the world, it is going to feel like the hardest thing.
Mm,
That's an entrepreneur.
yeah.
I
Have
don't
you
think there's
found
another way. Is there another way?
have you found ways to I already know the answer to this question, but this is for anybody who might be tuning in. Have you found ways to become more energetically aligned in the work that you're doing?
So this is the answer to it. And we did not set this up as some kind of sales pitch, by the way, folks. We're just talking here.
This is
Um,
completely organic.
it's completely organic. Um, so the answer is the group. So what I found was my individual energetic work that started when I was in my 20s. So I joined a energy dojo, Secrets of the Temple, martial arts, Tai Chi group when I was in my 20s. So I've been doing that stuff for over 30 years. So I am advanced at energy. However, it's one thing to be advanced in energy in my own craziness, flying out to outer space with my genius or whatever. And it's another to be in the market in a way that's understandable and useful to serve other people.
Right.
And for me to get there, it required my pilot group,
Yeah.
being with other people, doing the same kind of thing. It took that over a year of that to get
Mhm.
there.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's the misnomer with solopreneurship is it's this idea that you're wearing all the hats and that you're doing it by yourself, and that's where a lot of people start off. But there's something incredible that happens once you start surrounding yourself with supportive network people, collaborators that um, not only help fill in the gaps of our weaknesses, but also reflect back to us what our strengths are. I firmly believe this. It is impossible. And maybe this isn't true for everyone, but it has been for me. It can be feel impossible to clarify what the sense of meaning and purpose is behind your business without other people.
I think that what I noticed about myself is that I go very, very far alone. The book like Into the Wild with the guy who goes up to Alaska and then dies in the bus is a perfect example of this. I could see myself going up to Alaska alone and then dying in the bus. So there's only so far you can go.
Yeah.
And I've gone far
Yeah.
alone into the deepest recesses of my being and into the market doing original things that are really fucking strange to people. And, I don't care, and I'm built for that, and I'm not afraid
Yeah.
to do it. Being an original creator of something for me feels natural, even if, there's no social proof and other people think it's weird, I just don't care, I'm gonna keep going. However, I will die alone in the wilderness if I stay there.
Yeah. Well, it looks like you've surrounded yourself with people to support that process.
And I think of that now as, lowering the parking brake. So I think there's 2 sides of this. So one side is what's my vision, and how do I notice, adjust, and calibrate in the market that vision within a market? The other side of it is how do I lower the parking brakes inside myself that prevent me from allowing myself not to die alone in the wilderness?
Mm,
Because I can't, play nice with other people in a way that fits me and suits me.
mm,
I had to solve that.
yeah.
And I think Solopreneur Inc. was a testing ground that got to one big lesson. So if I look back at Solopreneur Inc., which is now 2 years ago, I mean, think about how long this is taking. 2 years ago, the big lesson was it's not about me. So they came to me wanting me to motivate them.
Mm,
They came to me as the expert, wanting me to have the answers for them. And I didn't want to motivate them, and I did not want to have the answers for them. That was the big insight.
yeah.
What I have now is not about me, and it is not about me having the answers for anybody. It's about helping people find the answers for themselves in a comprehensive platform where people will allow people to be themselves and not show up on the stage
Yeah.
as a guru with an answer for
Yeah.
somebody or advice.
Yeah.
That's
It
the
takes hard
difference.
work to curate an experience like that.
Tell me about it. Tell
I
me
think
about
back
it.
to before we met, I was operating in isolation. So, I spent 3 years building my YouTube channel and like I wasn't active on social and any other platform. I was just super focused on this one place. And in order to make ends meet, I had to go and do food deliveries
Oh,
for Skip the Dishes,
ah,
like part time. And I listened to a lot of audiobooks while I was doing that. So it was actually kind of fun. And I also really love driving in the snow. I'm like a weird person. Like the most people are freaking out. And I'm like, I'm in my element. You give me an all wheel drive vehicle and a foot and a half of snow, I'm good to go. But, you know, there was a game to be played on YouTube, right? And it was really about understanding how do I craft an idea that connects back to where people are at in their present state.
yeah.
And in other words, how do you craft a title that captures attention? People call it a content hook. And that could be perceived as positive or negative, but for me, it's a game that
Mhm.
I enjoy. It's fun. There's creativity in that. How do I make sure that I'm focused on what someone else, what their present state of awareness is, or their experience, and what situation they might be in, to help them make a shift in their perspective? And I just share, frameworks and experiences that I've been through or created from those experiences. And those frameworks are intended to be completely open ended. This is why I love Bruce Lee's quote, right? Adapt what is useful, reject what is useless, and add what is specifically your own. It's like the perfect
Mm.
quote for the modern era in creativity.
Mm. Could you say that again? Bruce Lee is one of my mentors. He is without a doubt. I feel very close to Bruce Lee, and I've studied that kind of martial arts and that internal energy
Yeah,
work. Be like water. I'm the water symbol. I mean, it's just
absolutely.
Bruce Lee and me. I just really connect with this guy. So
Yeah, we have common ground there.
say that.
The
Explain that quote again, and then let's break it down a little bit because it's really important. I think.
Yeah, adapt what is useful, reject what is useless, and add what is specifically your own.
Yeah.
From his context, as I understand, that quote came from his approach to mixed martial arts in a world where, it was predominantly schools of certain ways of doing things,
It
kung fu,
was.
karate, etc.,
Yes.
right?
Yes, and you
And
must
he was
respect it.
disrupting all of it. He's like,
They
"Wait,
hated it.
no, I'm going to make my own thing, but I'm gonna borrow inspiration from all these different areas and combine them into something that's of me."
That's not respectful to your elders, Bruce.
Thank you for being a pioneer.
They didn't like it.
Yeah.
That's right, and I love that explanation because that's exactly what happened. So you've got this man who's half Asian, half white, or quarter white, 3 quarters Asian, and he wants to be a movie star, meaning be a celebrity. And he was born in San Francisco, but his dad was a, actor in Hong Kong, which is not acceptable. And his mother comes from a family of money that comes from an old Dutch, like, family tradition, because of intermarriage and stuff. I think that was the story, right? So he's out there kicking ass in public. They didn't like it. And if you look at his early movies, I'm like, wow, this is so perfect. It's
Yeah.
just really, and then he ends up in Hollywood and he starts creating martial arts dojos because he's becomes the best in the world. But they wouldn't give him a movie. And then they made him a sidekick in a Green Hornet. They would, because he's Asian. They wouldn't give him a starring role, and he's friends with Steve McQueen and all these people. No, they wouldn't do it. And he refused to compromise.
Yeah.
Refused. I love that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But he also learned that there is a respect for himself around this isn't about me kicking ass. This is about me being the best in the world at the thing I am becoming the best in the world at for a purpose bigger than me. And that's one of the lessons. And I think it was the Birth of the Dragon or
Mm.
whatever. He
Enter the
learned that.
Dragon?
Which one?
Enter the Dragon?
Enter the Dragon. Yeah, it was
Yeah.
Enter the
Doesn't that have
Dragon.
Chuck Norris in it?
Wait, no, I'm confusing the names I cannot remember the names of these movies. This is the one where his master, the master teacher from Hong Kong
Mm,
comes to San Francisco to wash dishes to repent for being egomaniacal because he was
right.
gonna lose in a sparring match between Tai Chi and Kung Fu or what, all the traditions and the formal ceremonies and stuff. And, he won't fight Bruce and Bruce won't. It's this awesome setup around humility.
Mm,
Learning
yeah.
humility is what it's about.
Yeah. That's interesting. Well, we could probably talk about Bruce Lee all day.
So let's make it about entrepreneurship. So what I learned from this was this isn't about me. This is not about my genius, being genius and showing other people all my moves. I had to learn that through crushing into the market and realizing, no, people don't want that. They want to get what they want.
Yeah.
So my job is not to save the world. with my big ideas. My job is to help people get what they want.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's like, well, who is that? And we just did this in the More Money Now session right before this call. And I asked people a question, and I won't go through the whole exercise, but what it comes out to was, who are you here for? And for me, it was entrepreneurs, coaches, and service providers who want to get a better experience working for themselves and will do whatever it takes.
Yeah.
And the key was, and will do whatever it takes.
Right.
If they won't do whatever it takes, then they're not for me.
Right. Yeah. It's not your job to motivate people. It doesn't work. It never sustains. I've noticed this, like, in client sessions, sometimes I bring energy into those interactions as much as I possibly can, and it can be contagious, but it doesn't last. It's kind of like going to a weekend long event,
Yes.
right? And there is the speaker on the stage,
Yeah.
and they share the most inspiring story ever, and then you get home on Monday and it's like, oh,
It's Monday.
you're like like you crash, and you
Yeah.
don't know what to do with any of that, information or insights or connections. So it's
That was
interesting.
critical to inform the product structure that we've got. And the product structure is to be able to go through a environment where you can take what you want from the founding members. So founding members give a session for an hour every week, and we have 12 founding members and then me. So I've got almost it all done. I got 2 more to go. And that's the baseline. But then what I find is that other people need more than that. So then there's 8-week workshops, which are joint ventures between a founding member and a partner around a specific topic. And then there's a 12-month membership, because even if people don't take advantage of it, I know that real change requires some collapse at some point. So
Yeah.
you learn the new thing, you're 6 months in now, you feel better, and then people feel better and they leave the coaching program, and they're still doing better, and there's going to be a collapse at some point because it hasn't alchemized yet is real change.
Mm.
So being able to come every day to me became a requirement for what I'm doing, and not to have to pay extra for an inner circle. Elimination of all inner circles and elite groups formed within the broader group to me was essential.
That's interesting. It's different.
Well, don't you find that, like, if I look at a lot of the celebrities online, one of the biggest flaws to me is it's all based on what they can get. So they're
Mm.
using marketing to get more out of the market, as opposed to organically constructing an ecosystem
Right.
that explodes into the market, built and constructed, created with the market.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like I look at the Russell Brunson stuff and Alex Hormozy and Tony Robbins, and so much of it to me feels almost like fear-based. Like there's this fear they won't get enough money. So they got to put all this marketing stuff in to get people to do what they want them to do. I don't know. What do you think about that? I can't completely understand it, but
This is what comes up for me. Marketing is taught to prey on deficiency.
right.
We are taught to prey on deficiency and pain points,
Yes.
right? There's a problem with this. I'll get to that in a moment. So deficiency, pain points, because why? Because it's been proven that people will take more action because they're motivated to solve pain and frustration more than they are like an aspirational goal.
Russell Brunson says that in Expert Secrets. I'm rewriting Expert Secrets, and I'm rewriting Alex Hormozy's book Offers. He says that in the fucking book.
Yeah. So what's the problem with that? From
Yeah.
my perspective,
Uh-huh.
we're setting a very low bar here.
Yes.
The bar is
Right.
it works.
Right.
That's it.
Right.
Do this because it works.
That's it.
Whether it feels good to you or not, that's not even relevant?
No, it's not to him.
Question mark.
It's not. The entire thing is measured based on an external measurement in a hierarchy that decides what's important. And in this case, it's money.
Yeah.
And that's it. And it's disguised as a purpose, but it's really extraction of wealth from a market, from my
Right.
perspective.
Yeah.
Again.
We're trying to build funnels. We're trying to build sales funnels for
Mhm.
conversion because that's what's been taught. That's the way that it's done. But what if we switch the focus from sales funnels to trust funnels? What
Oh,
if everything we did was about building trust and rapport with people and being of contribution to others? That's the model that I subscribe to. I wanted everything has got to be about building trust and rapport because the writing's on the wall. The AI's in the mix.
yeah.
There's way more voices. It's getting progressively noisier. It's going to continue. And that means that the trust gap goes from, well, we used to be able to put up a post that would lead to conversions immediately. And now it's like that doesn't work anymore. Not as much as, and some people are still like in that old way of thinking. And sure,
Yeah.
some content can convert like that. But
Can.
Chris Dew said this really well in a YouTube video. He's from the future. If anyone's not familiar with him, but
Yeah, he's very smart.
yeah, he
Mm.
said that your personal brand is built, and we can get into a conversation about personal
Yeah.
branding if you want to, but we don't have to.
We only
But
have
he
3
said it's like
minutes.
the amount of trust you can build before you ask is how solid your personal brand is.
So what's going on from my perspective with Russell Brunson is his solution is to buy Napoleon Hill's um, works and to bring in the idea of the prime mover from Ayn Rand as a way to innovate in the market. And I look at it as more of the same because I'm thinking of it as, well, trust comes from being trustworthy, meaning I'm part of the group. So I'm not the prime mover. Everyone's the prime mover. So the whole philosophy of there's certain special people with the answers
Mm,
doesn't resonate with me at all.
right.
It's my job to serve the community with original creation. Does that make me special? No. Does it mean I had to go through a lot to be able to do this? Yes. Do other people have to go through what I went through? No. They have to go through whatever they have to go through. I don't know what that is. They'll have to figure
Yeah.
that out, right?
Yeah, that's interesting. I like that. It's more inclusive. We're treating people as equals.
Yes.
Right. And so there's no, when you treat people as equals and you're operating from inclusivity, there's no need to prey on deficiencies.
That's we gotta, like, put it on a plaque. That's just really well. So this is what Matt does, and this is kind of what he did with me, and the entrepreneur experience as a title came out of a conversation Matt and I had, like, what, a year and a half ago? Where I'm trying to figure out what do I call this damn thing? And I was doing Alex Hormozy's program to figure out what the hell this guy's talking about. And one of the things he said Alex Hormozy is a smart guy. And one of the things he said is test it out. So I tested out different ideas and on a LinkedIn poll, and I got a ton of stuff back. And you and I were talking, and you're like, you keep saying experience. And I'm like, entrepreneur experience.
Yeah.
Done. So entrepreneur experience brought to you by Red Pill Pathway now gives me flexibility to make entrepreneur experience Matt Bigger entrepreneur experience, Judy Kane entrepreneur experience, Brian Muka entrepreneur experience, and all of the other founding members, founding partners, joint venture partners that are going to do joint workshops. Now it's not about me anymore.
Right. You know what's so interesting about that is I want to share with you from my perspective where it came from when I said
Yeah,
that, because it was like in this moment I realized I have this ambition that is selfishly driven. If I'm being perfectly honest,
of course.
I want to experience more deeper and richer experiences with the time that I have to be alive. And I think that that's a common desire with a certain group of people, that we have a desire to get beneath the surface and experience things. And I think about that applies in every area of my life, right? I want to have uh, deeper and richer dining experiences, right? Like I would go and try one of those restaurants where they put a blindfold on you and you have to have like sensory through the food and smell alone, or the sounds, etc. Right? Like that's an example of a rich and deep experience that completely shifts your perspective on what it means to go to a restaurant.
Yeah.
So that's one example, but I think it shows up in a lot of different areas in our lives. And that was my ambition. I'm like, I just turned 41 this year. Like, I've been at this for a while. I don't want to play on the surface anymore. I
No.
want deeper and richer experiences. And sometimes my expression or perspective that comes across in the content and things that I share, people aren't ready for it yet. And I'm
No.
okay with that.
There, I am too, and so we're at time, and I want to end on this one thing, and then you can summarize what you think. But I'm thinking about it as, who is this for? This entrepreneur experience thing, and I think it's global. I see hundreds of millions of people being impacted by what we're doing, um, and I think it's people who are willing to do what it takes. So I look at the before story and the after story. What I don't wanna have happen with us is, I don't want to attract the after story people only,
Mm,
the people who are already there because you have the money to come into the private mastermind. We don't have a private mastermind. It's not gonna happen. At the end of this 7-day free guest pass to check stuff out on your own terms, there is no cash register. You can pay us though, but there's also a passive income strategy that will help you make money based on what you learned from being around us for 7 days. And that helps me because I'm selfish. It also helps you because you're selfish. Or you can pay and join. Or if you're really good at what you do, you can do a workshop with a founding member where, if you like them, if they'll accept you because they think you're good enough. Because we're only best in class here only, if you're going to do a workshop. But maybe you're best in class. If you're not ready, you'll get best in class. That's the whole point. Who is not going to do this? People who don't want to try hard.
mm,
I don't
yeah.
want those people.
Yeah.
I don't want to spend my life with people who don't give a shit.
Well, unfortunately, when you surround yourself with people who aren't motivated, it tends to have a very, it's like tax on your energy,
Yes.
right? I, part of that deeper and richer experience is about surrounding myself with other people who reflect back, who energize me, who are walking their own path in their own way, but we have complementary common ground. That's what it's about.
So we have the events page up. So it's redpillpathway.com /events. And you can claim a 7-day guest pass and start coming to things. We have things going on every day as part of that. And Matt's running a session every Wednesday, which is going to start sometime, I think, in January.
Yeah.
So we need to get a start date exact on that up on the site. And that's going to be about freedom clarity session. That's about his expertise with what he's called pivots, 34 of them or 58 of them, or you've named them.
21.
21 pivot. Yeah. So how he went through all that is of value to you because he took those arrows in the back and now he can help you get productive and more focused and into clarity so you get there faster. I think that's what that session's really about, right?
Yeah. I'm
All
fully
right. Thanks,
reflecting it
Matt.
back.